Okay, so let's talk about digital strategy. You hear that phrase thrown around all the time, right? But what does it really truly mean? I promise you, it's not just some corporate buzzword. And today, we're going to break down what a real digital strategy is, and we'll use a simple analogy that I think is going to make it all click.
So let me ask you a question. Let's say you're in a meeting and someone says, "We need a digital strategy." And immediately somebody else pipes up with, "I know, let's post on TikTok every single day." I mean, is that a strategy? Well, the short answer is nope, not even close. And honestly, confusing that kind of activity with an actual strategy, that is probably the single biggest mistake people make.
All right, so before we dive deep, we got to get one thing straight right away. There's a ton of confusion out there. See, digital strategy and digital marketing, they are not the same thing, and knowing the difference, it's absolutely key.
Okay, check out this table because it really lays it all out. When you look at the scope of these things, you see that digital strategy is massive. It's business-wide. It's the big overarching plan. Then you have digital transformation, which is kind of how the entire company actually puts that plan into motion. And then, way down here, you've got digital marketing. See? It's just one part of the whole thing, one tool in a much, much bigger toolbox. So those social media posts we were talking about, just a tiny, tiny piece of a giant puzzle.
So, to really make this stick, I want you to think about it in a completely different way. Let's use an analogy. I want you to imagine that your digital strategy is a recipe. Yeah, a recipe, like for cooking. Now, just stick with me on this because I swear this one idea is going to change the entire way you think about all of this. All right, so here's the textbook definition. It's a plan that specifies the direction an organization will take. And that's the word I want you to grab onto. Direction. A strategy is not a checklist of things to do. It's the path you've decided to take to get ahead of the competition. It's the big why behind every single what you do. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. Marketing tactics without a strategy is like baking without a recipe. I mean, think about it. You can have flour, sugar, eggs, all the best stuff sitting on your kitchen counter. You've got all the components, right? But you don't have a cake. Not yet. Without that recipe, without that strategy, you're just gonna make a big ol' mess in the kitchen. You're not actually creating anything valuable. Okay, let's really break this recipe thing down. Part 1, the goal. The goal is the finished dish you want to serve. It's the big picture result you're aiming for. So for example, your goal isn't just to bake a cake. No, your goal is to host an amazing, successful dinner party. See the difference? It's that ultimate objective. All right, so if the dinner party is the goal, what's the strategy? Well, the strategy is the recipe you pick to make that party a huge success. Think about it. You could make anything in the world, but you decide, you know what, I'm gonna make my famous lasagna. That specific choice, that particular plan of attack, that is your strategy. And that brings us to the tactics. The tactics are just the ingredients and the cooking steps. Go buy pasta, chop the tomatoes, grate the cheese. So now let's circle all the way back to that first question we asked. Is posting on TikTok every day a strategy? No way. It's a tactic. It's an ingredient. And an ingredient is pretty much useless if you don't have a recipe telling you what to do with it. Okay, great. So now we get what a strategy is, but how do you come up with one? How do you actually write the recipe? Well, let's take a look at a couple of the basic essential tools that every strategist has in their kitchen, so to speak. So before you can even think about picking a recipe, you have to know what you've got to work with, right? You got to check the kitchen. And that's where something called a SWOT analysis comes in. Think of it this way. Your S strengths are what you already have in the pantry, the good stuff. Your W weaknesses, well, that might be the ingredients you're missing. Opportunities are like the fresh vegetables growing out in the garden, just waiting to be picked. And threats? That could be a rival chef next door or a pot about to boil over. The whole point is, a really good strategy uses the stuff in your pantry to go grab those opportunities from the garden. So you've done your SWOT, you've analyzed your whole kitchen, you know what you have and what you don't. But just having a list of ingredients? That's still not a recipe, right? You need a plan, a set of instructions to follow. You need a framework to turn all that stuff into an amazing meal. And a really popular, super useful framework for this is called the RACE framework. It's simple. Think of it as the 4 big steps to cooking and serving your dish. First, you reach people. You gotta get their attention, let them know you're cooking. Then you get them to act. Maybe you'll have them try a little free sample. Next up, you convert them. This is when they sit down and order the full meal. And finally, you engage them, making the experience so good they can't wait to come back for dinner again.
And this is where that SWOT analysis you did becomes so important. Maybe an opportunity you found is perfect for that reach stage, or maybe one of your key strengths is what will really help you convert those customers. Okay, that's a lot of theory. It's time to see how this stuff actually works out in the wild. Let's make it real with a super simple example. Let's talk about a local bakery. So just picture this little neighborhood bakery. They make the most incredible croissants you've ever tasted, but they just need more people to actually walk through the door. So how can they use a real digital strategy to get that done? Okay, first step, what's their goal? What's the finished dish they're trying to make? Notice, their goal isn't something vague like get more followers. Nope, it's a real, tangible business outcome. Increase in-store sales by 15%. See how specific and measurable that is? That's a real goal. All right, so with that goal in mind, what's their recipe? What's the strategy? It's simple. They're going to use their digital channels to drive immediate, localized foot traffic. That's it. They're not trying to become some famous online brand. Their entire focus is on getting people who are physically nearby to walk in the door, like right now. And now, here comes the tactic, the specific ingredient they're going to use. They run an Instagram ad that is geo-targeted, meaning it's only shown to people within a 5-mile radius of the bakery. And it has a coupon that expires in 24 hours to create urgency. Do you see how it all connects? That tactic, the ad, perfectly serves the strategy of driving local foot traffic, which in turn serves the business goal of increasing sales. That, my friends, is a winning recipe. Okay, so let's zoom back out. We've talked about the crucial difference between goals, strategies, and tactics. We've looked at some of the tools of the trade. We even walked through a real-world example. So now, the only thing left to do is to turn this back around on you. So I want to leave you with this one final question to think about. Take a look at all the digital stuff you or your company does. All the posting, the emailing, everything. Are you just buying a bunch of random ingredients and throwing them in a bowl hoping a delicious meal magically appears? Or do you have a clear recipe, a plan that guides every single thing you do? Because at the end of the day, having that recipe, well, that's the real secret. That's what makes a digital strategy actually work.